Hello, everybody. Welcome. What a lovely Tuesday morning here in California, but maybe Tuesday afternoon, evening. Gosh, maybe could it be Wednesday where you are? I don't know. Chime in the chat where you're coming in from as people join. I am going to share my screen just so y'all know you are in the right place. You found what you are seeking. Shabims. We're here at See What's New, the next evolution of superhuman AI. As I said earlier, you can chime in the chat with where you're joining us from. And if you're feeling extra adventurous, extra extroverted today, you can also share an answer to our question of the day, which is what is one way the AI has improved your life?
And we see that chat is disabled, so we will get that re-enabled so we can hear all these cool answers.
That's exactly what we will do. All right. Da, da, da. All right. Well, while we're sorting out the chat here, making sure that people can chime in to these fun questions of the day, I'm going to answer the question myself and then do a brief little introduction. One way that AI has improved my life is I am a much better speaker and listener than I am a writer reader. And so a lot of these like speech to text and text to speech tools have gotten a lot better with the new AI revolution. And that has really positively impacted the ability that I have to both like consume more content and retain it, and also to create more content more quickly and more effectively. So that's been huge. And then about a decade ago, Watson, the IBM robot, beat the smug Ken Jennings on Jeopardy, and that really did improve my quality of life as well. Just kidding. I love Ken Jennings. By the way, I am Matt Waters, your host today. I am part of the customer enablement team at Superhuman. I just celebrated my 6-year Superhuman anniversary, so been helping people do more with their email for a while. My previous background is actually in education. I was a math teacher for many years. I like to say that teaching 8th graders how to do algebra is pretty much the same as teaching adults how to do email. So very excited to get to spend the next 45 minutes or so with you all, helping you learn about the brand new Superhuman AI features. But I am not alone. Of course, I am joined by my fabulous colleague, Lorilyn.
Hi, I'm Lorilyn McCue. I'm a product manager working on AI here at Superhuman. I've been here for the last year and a half. Before Superhuman, I worked in product at Slack and a machine learning startup. I'm very passionate about using AI to help people save time. So our early data shows that users are already saving an extra hour a week with the features that Matt's about to tell you about today. I'm very excited about this stat. And so, Matt, go ahead and take it away.
All right, thank you very much. A couple of quick little housekeeping notes. First thing, I want to run down the agenda. We're going to talk about all our brand new cutting edge AI features: auto labels, auto archive, auto reminders, auto drafts. It's a regular auto show out here. Talk a little bit about some new options for split configurations, and then Laurelyn will share some coming attractions of what to look forward to in the future of Superhuman. We will also have some dedicated time for questions and answers at the end of our session, so make sure to stick around for that. But some housekeeping. We're going to cover a lot of ground here. I do tend to speak a little bit quickly, so don't feel like you have to furiously take notes. We'll be sending out a recording of the session tomorrow if there's anything that you would like to review. Um, we, as I said, are going to do a Q&A live at the end of the session. But before then, feel free to submit questions through the Q&A feature in Zoom. We've got several Superhuman team members standing by to help answer some of those questions in writing as we go along. And then, of course, we'll answer some of those live at the end. And then tomorrow, when we follow up with that recording, we'll also have a little FAQ based on some of the questions we've received. So look forward to that. And really appreciate this. As soon as you leave the session, you should get a very brief, it's like 3 questions, little survey about your experience today. Going to be really helpful for us if you take just a minute to fill that out. We're really dedicated to making these sessions as helpful as possible. And the only way we can do that is with your feedback. So thank you so much in advance for your help with that. Of course, we wouldn't ask you for something without giving you something in return. So we're going to tell you about a lot of really cool features today, some of which are only available for customers on our business or enterprise tiers, not on our starter tier. But because we want everyone who joined us today to have a chance to try out all of these features, if you're on our starter plan, we'll give you 1 free month of our business plan to try out these features. So we're going to follow up after the session with information about your upgrade. And then if you're already on our business or enterprise tier, we don't want you to feel left out. We haven't forgotten about you. So we'll be following up with y'all after the session today to offer you some complimentary training to get you and your team even more empowered on our brand new cutting edge AI features. Fantastic. All right. You've been patient enough. Let's get into it. I'm wondering, with this group, how many emails per week do you think you get today? I know we're having some technical issues with the chat, so no worries about chiming in, but get it in your head, are you talking about hundreds, thousands? I once saw somebody who had literally 2 million email in their inbox, right? And it's estimated that about 60 to 80% of knowledge professionals suffer from email overload. And this volume and the lack of organization, it just makes it hard to know where to focus, and it slows us down when focus and speed are more important than ever to achieve our professional goals. So when we set out to build this next evolution of Superhuman AI, we started talking to hundreds of executive assistants, people whose job it is to help others be more focused and faster. And we wanted to better understand how they work to support others more effectively. And we learned that one of the most effective systems are for EAs to label their executives' emails so they know exactly where to focus, right? Bringing order into the chaos of the inbox. And that is exactly what we set out to do with auto labels. So I'm going to switch my screen into Superhuman, shabims, and you've probably already seen these auto labels showing up in your inbox. We've got contracts here. That's a custom auto label. We've got news. We've got marketing. Okay. And essentially, what these allow you to do is quickly visually assess the relative importance or areas of focus in your inbox by different types of messages. Okay. To see the auto labels you have today, hit Command K and type auto labels settings. Okay. And you're going to see 4 built-in auto labels that are available to all Superhuman users. And we started with these because marketing emails, newsletters, cold outreach or pitches, and social media updates tend to be ubiquitous in everybody's inbox. And they're almost universally lower importance and lower urgency than other email. So the first thing we do when we apply these is actually move them. If you have important other enabled, we move them from your important split to your other split automatically because they are less important. So not only do you have this visual cue to tell you that these are probably somewhat less important messages, but you also get them moved into the other split, okay? Now, if for some reason you wanted to see all of your marketing emails or all of your news emails in one place, you could simply mouse over the left side here, see your folders and labels that you're used to seeing, and notice now we have all of your brand new auto labels in here. So if you were to click marketing, you could see all of your marketing emails in one place. Fantastic. Okay. Now, these labels actually power some other features that I'm going to talk about in just a moment, like little previews, our new splits functionality, as well as auto archive. But before we get into that, I want to say that these built-in auto labels are cool. What's even cooler is building your very own custom auto label. Now, this is one of those features that's reserved for our business and enterprise tier. But again, if you're on Starter today, we'll follow up to get you a free month of business and these features. Okay, so hit Command K, type auto labels settings, and you'll see an option to make a new auto label. Okay. And essentially what you can do here is write an AI prompt, and then any email you receive that matches that prompt will get that label applied to it. Okay. This means it's radically easier to organize your inbox in a flexible and dynamic way. This might remind you a little bit of like Gmail filters if you're used to that old school approach, but it's much more powerful because with the Gmail filters, you need to use rigid Boolean logic, right? It needs to be from a specific sender or contains a specific subject line or keyword. Here, you can actually write a flexible AI prompt that looks at the context of the message to assess what's going on. It could be from different senders. It could have different subject lines. It could be at different times. And we'll still be able to organize with this custom auto label. Okay, so some examples here, we have like job applications, review requests, invitations to speak at an event. Some other ones that I really love are like project-based custom auto labels. So you might say like all of the emails related to project XYZ, right? And those might be from lots of different people. They might have different subject lines, but they are all going to get that auto label. Really, really flexible. Another one that I was talking to somebody the other day that they absolutely love, both in their professional and their personal account even, is kind of like a finance auto label. So it might be something like emails that contain invoices, receipts, bills, right? And all of a sudden you have all of those organized in one place. You don't have to do a bunch of filing, all of that boring, repetitive, non-creative email work goes away, and it is just taken care of for you by Superhuman AI. The example that I have here is all emails from customers about contracts, right? You can imagine that if you're working in sales or in finance, this kind of thing would be really useful for you. You can see a preview here. You can edit your auto label from this screen. And then if I click over here and I click contracts, I can see all of the emails related to contracts that I have from the past several months. Super dynamic, super powerful. Okay. Now, one tricky thing, of course, is that you need to write great prompts in order to get great custom auto labels. So I want to talk to you for just a quick minute with some best practices for how you can write killer AI prompts. Just so you know, this is really, really useful for our custom auto labels, but I've actually found these tips useful in all of the AI prompting that I do in Superhuman, as well as anywhere else in this modern technological landscape where AI prompting is this like brand new skill we're all learning. Awesome. So you can think of Superhuman AI as almost like a new assistant, right? And just like your relationship with your assistant, it needs to be grounded on excellent, clear communication. So the first thing to do is be really explicit, okay? Use examples and counterexamples. You can even put things in quotes and be like, it might sound like this or this, trying different cues to help make sure that you're getting exactly what you want and nothing that you don't. Consider variations. Now, there's lots of different ways to say the same thing. And when AI prompting, it can actually be helpful to be just a little redundant in order to really communicate with clarity what's most important to you. So really important tip there. And then the most important tip I could give is to iterate and refine, right? See if the prompt is getting you exactly what you want. And if it isn't, try to add or remove or change, right? So I want to do a worked example to show you what this might look like. So we could start with something really easy like review requests, right? And that's probably going to get us about 75% of where we want to be. But there's probably going to be a couple review requests that don't immediately look obviously like a review request that it might miss. And there might be some false positives, those messages that get the label, but they're not quite review requests, so they kind of muddy the waters. So let's talk about how we can make this even better. After we go through this process, we have something more like requests from other people. Now it's other people because I don't want my review requests that go out to others to have to get this label. So it's just requests to me from other people. With a superhuman domain, right? I'm reviewing internal work. I don't want people from other organizations asking me questions and to go with this auto label, who are asking me to review work like product specs, feature designs, marketing launches. There you have our examples, right? And then, considering a variation, at the risk of being a little redundant, I say exclude requests from other domains. And again, that is a little bit of a repetition that's going to really help get exactly what you want and nothing that you don't. So we went from maybe like 75% accurate with this quick little prompt, and then we iterated and we refined until we get to something like this that's more like close to 100% accurate. So I recommend that you take a little bit of time to refine your auto labels. To remind you how to do that, we come in, we hit Command K, we type auto labels settings, and then click the gear icon beside the auto label. Okay. And then you can change the prompt. You'll even get a little preview of the messages that are going to show up there when you do. And you'll also be able to check whether this is the right type of email or an exclusion here. So take some time to really perfect those auto labels, because then they're going to save you so much time organizing your email going forward. All right. Excellent. I want to give you a quick example of a solution I recently heard for using custom auto labels that I thought was really powerful. So I was talking to somebody and they were a recruiter, but you can imagine, like, if you're a recruiter, a founder, anybody who's interested in bringing top talent into your organization, you probably know that speed's the most important factor when you're hiring. So you probably use like an applicant tracking system to manage job applications. And that's exactly what this person I was talking to did. Okay. But they were saying, like, they also get cold outreach from candidates. They get forwards from coworkers like, hey, check out this resume, or this is a person I worked with before. They're also getting notifications from other tools like, LinkedIn, and they get a message on LinkedIn that says like, hey, I'm interested in this. And on top of that, they're recruiting for like half a dozen different roles that all need to be actioned and responded to differently. Okay. So trying to keep all of this straight in the inbox was causing email overload. It was slowing them down and like ultimately causing them to miss out on the best talent because they weren't moving as quickly as they could. So custom auto labels was the solution that worked really well for them. They were able to create different custom auto labels for different roles, something like job applications or interest in our senior engineer role. And then all of the emails related to each of those roles were automatically sorted, whether they were from a tool like a Greenhouse or another platform like LinkedIn, or whether they were just emails inbound from candidates or inbound from colleagues. And it completely transformed the way that they were able to manage their recruiting. So really, really powerful use case there. Fantastic. Now, I talked a bit about how cool auto labels are, but I haven't even talked about how they can combine with our other features to make you even more focused and effective. So I want to take this even a step further by using auto labels to define split inboxes. Now, as a quick reminder, split inboxes are these little sections at the top of Superhuman that group similar email together. And I find that the most helpful splits fall into two categories. One, they capture low urgency information that you might read and respond to a little bit more slowly than email in your primary splits. Okay, that's like updates, newsletters, that kind of thing. Or they capture high priority emails that are similar, so you want to pay attention to them and quickly batch process them. Okay, so an example of the first type is your other split, right? And as I mentioned, by default, already your built-in auto labels will move to the other split, thereby using these auto labels to help you organize your splits even better. Okay. Now, for the second, important messages can also be grouped in a split. And I find custom auto labels to be really great for this. Okay, so let's see. If I were to click on this gear icon up here, I could make a new split inbox. Okay, and I'm just going to call this contracts. And here the definition is your traditional split definition. This would be a Boolean definition like from Lorilyn or subject contracts. But I'm going to actually leave that blank. And instead, I'm going to go down to auto labels. And I'm going to define this split based on one of my auto labels. So specifically, of course, the contracts one. So all emails from customers about contracts. Okay. And I could add multiple of these if I wanted, but I'm only going to do one for now and watch what happens. Creates the split immediately, and all of the emails in my inbox with that auto label are now organized together. So not only do I get the increased focus of having these little labels that I can actually just visually easily see, but now I can actually organize these messages together to increase focus and batch process. One use case that I personally find super effective here is that of like the customer facing person, if you can believe it. The most important part of my job is responding to customers and clients quickly, making sure that they get what they need. And of course, those all come from different email addresses. They come with different subject lines, right? It's really hard to find one organizing principle for all of those until we have custom auto labels. Now it's really easy. I can write a prompt like questions or requests about Superhuman, or whatever your product or service is, from external domains. And that allows me to first custom auto label all of those messages, and then create a split of them so that as soon as a message shows up there, I have visibility on it. And when I'm not in an internal meeting or dealing with an internal situation, I can pop into my customer-facing split and make sure those people are getting dedicated service, questions answered, support, whatever they need as quickly as possible. Totally transformative in my ability to focus and dedicate my creative mind work to what really matters. Brilliant. All right. Now, sometimes you want to split off messages, like I just said, to batch process, but sometimes you don't want to have to process a message at all. Now, you can unsubscribe to get rid of some of those messages, but what about things like cold outreach? They come from dozens of different senders. You can't really unsubscribe. Or maybe it's, those marketing emails that try as you might, they keep adding you to different lists and you keep unsubscribing. It's like whack-a-mole, right? For those and other messages, we have built auto archive. Just like it sounds, this allows you to automatically have any specific custom or any specific auto label skip your inbox. Let's take a look at it. Auto archive settings, okay? Hit that, and you can check which of your auto labels will simply skip the inbox. So these are always searchable. They are never deleted, but they're not going to land in any of your splits. They're just going to skip past, okay? And I find this especially helpful for these pitches. I recently read that the average knowledge professional receives like 10 cold outreach emails per week. That's like about right for me, but I'm wondering, whether you're in the over or under. For me, by setting this here, I don't even have to process them. I don't have to worry about them. I don't have to think about them. If I want to, I can, of course, pop over into my labels on the left side and see those messages, but I don't need to spend time getting distracted by these cold outreach messages. Some other use cases for auto archive, I like it as a sort of like soft unsubscribe to some newsletters that I don't read that often, right? It's like, I don't want to unsubscribe because occasionally it's interesting, but I don't need them piling up in my splits either. I'm just like, if I need to read this Substack, I'll pop into my news I'll pop into my news auto label and check it out, but I don't need it piling up in my inbox, right? Now, of course, we'd never want you to miss an important message. So we have a couple of exceptions on our auto archive. First off, if you've ever messaged that address before, we're not going to have it skip your inbox. We assume that's somebody that you want to talk to. And second, if they have the same domain as you, excepting really common domains, right? Like Gmail, generic stuff like that, Hotmail, God forbid, we're not going to skip those emails. So if you're on the same team, we're not going to have those emails skip the inbox. Unfortunately, you'll just have to ignore your colleagues' emails on your own. Or, maybe tell them to write more interesting emails. Awesome. Now, I have saved my favorite feature for now, which is auto reminders and auto drafts. One thing that really differentiates effective emailers is following up on their own sent messages. How many people here today have had the pain of forgetting to follow up on a message you sent and then realizing you never got the information you needed, and that made the deal stalled out? You never got you never heard back, the conversation went cold, and then something ended up falling apart as a result. With auto reminders, you'll never miss a follow-up again. I'm going to show you how it works. So, of course, I'll be collaborating with a teammate here. I am just going to start a new draft. I'm going to Command-K, use a snippet, and let's see, feedback. All right. We got this message. Hey, Lily, can I get the customer feedback from our Superhuman AI launch? Now, with my use of that snippet and my use of Superhuman, my email efficiency is great. But I'm only as effective as my slowest responding teammates, right? So I need to remember to follow up with Lily if I haven't heard back. Now, of course, this is just a demo. Obviously, the real Lily is on Superhuman, so she's never going to miss a response. She's super speed, but bear with me for the example. In the past, the solution that we've had at Superhuman has been to manually set reminders to revisit messages you've sent when you don't get a reply. And that's pretty good. But now we have an even better solution. Superhuman AI will automatically set a reminder on any message that requires a response but hasn't received one yet. Let's check out how that works. Type reminder settings into Command K. And any message that needs a follow-up, so that's going to be a message that has a direct question or a request, Superhuman AI is going to identify that for you. And if you don't get a reply, it'll bring that message back to the top of your inbox at your default reminder time. Now, for me, that's in 2 days at 7 a.m. Although for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to bring it back a little bit early. Okay. And what's really, really cool here is if you're on our business or enterprise tier, not only are we going to bring back the message, we will actually have an auto-drafted reply. So you don't even have to think about how to write that, polite but firm, hey, did you get my last message? I still haven't heard back from you. We're automatically going to draft that for you in your voice to the person that you addressed originally with the context of your previous message. So really, really great for taking that repetitive, non-creative work off of your mind and allowing you to actually focus on what matters, which will happen even faster because you're getting more replies from the folks you're emailing. Fantastic. Let's take a look at how that appears. Now, notice that message I sent to Lily is back at the top of my inbox. Again, usually this would take 2 days, but I sped it up for the purposes of the demo. Purple dot to the left of it indicates a reminder, something I've seen before. And then that green text says auto draft because there is already a draft associated with it. Okay. So when I hit enter and open up the message, you'll see the original message I sent here. And then in my voice, in my style, a polite but firm follow-up written, hey, Lily, just following up. Have you been able to gather the customer feedback from the Superhuman AI launch? Let me know when you get a chance. I can just open that up, review, and then send it off. Fantastic. All right. This can be really, really transformative because imagine that you are, for example, a salesperson and you have a dozen active deals that you're trying to advance. Before, you'd need to remember who you haven't heard from, where the conversation left off, when you want to respond. And it can take literally hours each week just tracking all of that information. But with Superhuman, you just open up your inbox at the start of the day, and the messages at the top of your inbox are either going to be replies from your customers or already written, auto-drafted, auto-reminded follow-ups to chase down those folks that you haven't heard back from yet. Okay, so you start your day, and within just a few minutes, you can see all of the responses you've already gotten, and you can lightning fast chase down the responses you haven't gotten yet. This is going to save you hours of time in your sales cycle and make sure that no deal ever falls through the cracks again. Really, really transformative stuff. Fantastic. Now, that does it for our brand new features. We talked about auto labels, auto archive, auto reminders, auto drafts. And before we talk about coming attractions, I just want to kind of like string it all together with one more use case. Imagine that you're a founder, right? You've got this great new idea, right? Project Acme, you're going to use, I don't know, AI to, finally catch that roadrunner. And you need to do some fundraising, right? To get the money to create this awesome idea in the world. Well, luckily, you've got Superhuman to help you out because you need to be radically focused. So you are going to use your built-in auto labels to auto archive all of these distracting emails like cold pitches, social updates, and marketing emails, right? already you're focused, you're dedicated to Project Acme, you're dedicated to this fundraising. Okay. The next thing you're going to do is zero in on the emails that are most important to you, which is, of course, these investment and fundraising emails. So you're going to create a custom auto label for that. Let's click new auto label. I'm just going to say messages about investing in Project Acme, and let's call this investors. Fantastic. Boom, create that. And not only am I going to create that auto label, but I'm also going to create, and you can see it there, I'm also going to create a split so that I can batch process and stay hyper attentive to those emails. So I am going to click split. All right, this is a little bit of a new path for you. New split inbox on that email. And then I'm going to go down here. New split inbox with auto label investors. Very cool. Okay, and what should we call it? Just call it investors. I'm not feeling too creative. Boom. Radically focused. Any email about investment is going to be pulled out into here. I'm always going to be able to see the count of conversations I have there. I'm immediately going to be able to jump in and focus my attention on that. Okay. And not only that, but every time I respond to an investor, I'm going to get an auto reminder set to follow up in a couple days. And if they haven't replied, I'm already going to have a draft in my voice so that I don't have to remember to chase them down and I can keep the conversation going. Cool. You have heard me talk long enough. I so appreciate you all. I am actually going to pass it back to Lorilyn now to talk a little bit about what is next for Superhuman.
So we are not done. We are going to continue to iterate on the features that Matt has been talking about. So one thing that we're going to do is that we identified some commonly used auto labels that people are setting up. We want to make it easier for you to get started with some of these common use cases. So we're going to create a library of built-in auto labels. This will include things like travel, invoices, contracts, things that need a signature. We also heard that some of you want to include more basic features to auto labels, like I want to look for emails coming from superhuman.com or emails that have this particular subject line. We're going to have the ability for you to add this deterministic criteria to auto labels. You don't even have to have an AI component if you don't want it. A big request that we heard after this launch was the ability to have auto drafts, not just for follow-ups, but also for responses. We're really excited about implementing this. So these auto drafts that we're working on, as well as our Write with AI function, will be super powered to look for answers in your inbox so that it can include those answers in your response and additionally add in your availability. So let me give you an example. Someone might write you an email that says, "Hi, is your company SOC 2 compliant? And also, what's a good time for us to meet next week to discuss next steps?" So an auto draft would already be ready for you. It would include your typical answer to SOC 2 compliance. "Yes, we are. Here's a link to our security center." And it would include your availability. "I'm available next Wednesday, 2 to 4 p.m., or on Thursday, 1 to 3 p.m. Click here to book." And speaking of meetings, I'm really excited to share for those of you that use our Superhuman calendar, we're going to soon support the ability to edit events inside of Superhuman. This has been a big request and we're really excited to launch it. I personally have been really enjoying using it, and it'll be a big improvement for you calendar users. Thanks.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Lorilyn. We have a bit of time left here to do some live Q&A. So let me see here. I've got a couple of questions. Sorry, folks. Bear with me just a moment. All right. The first question is, what are some best practices for structuring and setting up prompts? I think they mean custom auto label prompts. For example, I've attempted to utilize future training of prompts of where I need a response, where I need to respond to an email. Great question here. So I think the question is like, what is the best approach for like when to use custom auto labels. I can share a little bit of thinking there, and then Laurelyn, if you have additional thoughts, I'm keen to hear them. So I find that the most helpful ways to kind of use these custom auto labels are like really organizing by like the concept or context, or you could think of it as like the of an email, semantics of an email. So what we don't have in our auto labels is stuff like, the metadata of an email, right? So like, whether or not it has been opened, or whether or not the read receipt has been triggered or something like that. So you really want to focus on the actual like written content of the email. What I find to be most helpful here is grouping by things the like a project topic, or like I said earlier, requests for a certain type of work to be done, whether that's job applications or reviews or customer questions, right? Kind of task-oriented organization can be really, really helpful in those auto labels. Laurelyn, do you have anything to add there?
I don't. I would say sometimes it takes a little bit of iteration. Like I could give you the prompt that I use for identifying my to-do and action items, but it really kind of depends on the person. So often I'll include specific things like often these requests will come from Laura, or often it'll have these particular terms. And so I really encourage you to play with it. And one thing that we've done to make it easier for you to like play with your prompts is we give you this preview on the right side. And so that preview should give you an idea of like, okay, is this working or not? And you can actually like check the things that are working and then X the things that you're like, you kind of missed the mark on this one. And so we actually use those examples to make the identification of these emails better going forward. So I encourage you to play with that preview functionality as you're creating an auto label and kind of like check in X things as you go.
Awesome. Thank you.
You can go to the me
Oh,
too.
pardon?
I can go to the next question
Oh,
if
yeah, yeah, please.
so I saw a lot of questions in the chat and the Q&A about enabling the feature, as well as is this available on mobile and desktop? And so you can enable these features on desktop and in iOS by doing Command K, or the little soft command, which is kind of like drag down and then go to the right. And then you can type update Superhuman AI or enable Superhuman AI. If you just type Superhuman AI, you'll get to the right command and you can enable it. We don't have the ability to do that on Android quite yet, but you can definitely do it from your desktop. So that's how to enable AI. And then once you enable AI from this moment going forward, you always have access to these features. You can also update some of the settings. So most of all the settings you can update on desktop. They're like the majority are available on Android and iOS, and we're going to keep releasing a few more of those settings every few weeks. So eventually you'll have absolute parity on Android, iOS, and desktop. The next question that I saw was after I spoke was a little bit of like when. I only mentioned features that we're working on currently, and so I don't know exactly when, but it will be within this the quarter. We're already working on them, so they're in progress now. So soon.
Brilliant. Yes. We're moving mountains every day. Awesome. I'm looking for more questions that we pulled out to answer live. We said, what are the best practices for setting up AI prompt labels? I spoke about that a little bit earlier, but just as a quick reminder, I think best practices when you're prompting, you want to use really clear examples and counter examples, like Laurelyn said, even using direct quotes of what it might sound like, right? Don't be afraid to be a little bit redundant, right? You can include like both some variations. You can include like the positive, do include this, and then exclude the opposite of it. And I think the most important thing to do is to kind of test and verify, right? Go into your auto labels and really customize them based on the results you're seeing, so that you're getting exactly what you want and nothing that you don't. All right.
Cool.
Brilliant. We've got about a minute left. So I just wanted to say thank you for spending some time with us. We know if you're using Superhuman, it's because you want to save time. So I'm sure you're all very busy and grateful for the opportunity to get to spend a little bit of time with you. If you have additional questions, Laurelyn and I and the rest of the team are going to hang out for about 15 more minutes. So happy to continue answering questions, but I understand if you have to drop. As a quick reminder, tomorrow we will be sending out a video recording as well as some additional FAQ with questions with answers to your questions, as well as information on our offer for both folks on our starter plans as well as business and enterprise. And if you are willing to take just a minute to fill out our survey as you leave, it would personally benefit me a great deal. So thank you so much, and thank you for your time. All right. Now, as folks are trickling out, let's jump in with a few more questions.
Dig into one. So one was, is there a way to have different reminder links programmed in for different touch points for cold outreach? So a 2-day reminder between emails 1 and 2, and then a week reminder between email 2 and 3. We don't currently have that, but we think it's a really cool idea. So we're going to bring it up as a feature request. It makes a lot of sense.
Yep, absolutely. Awesome.
The next question is, when you say superhuman calendar, do you mean more than the split inbox of calendar? Is there a superhuman calendar? There is a superhuman calendar. So this is one of my favorite exciting things about Superhuman is you don't have to go to a separate window when you have something involving a calendar. Oh, great, Matt, please take it away.
Yes, of
Demo's are
course.
done.
So first off, if you have a calendar invite or you mention a date or a day, your calendar is going to pop open on the right side. Oops. Right there. Okay. And you can also always trigger that just by hitting the 0 key, and you'll be able to see that. And if you want to go a little deeper and see the weekly view, hit 0 one more time. And of course, our keyboard shortcuts will work here in this full calendar view. You can hit J to move forward through time, K to move back in time, and T to lock back on to today. You can also create events directly from here just by clicking. Boom. All right. And you can, of course, add folks. You can add things like Zoom links or Google Meet or anything like that. And very, very soon, you'll also be able to actually edit events directly from here. You can see, because I am on the latest internal version of Superhuman, I can already do it, but very, very soon you will be able to too. So lots of powerful calendaring features directly from your inbox. In fact, indulge me on this one. If you get an email like this that says, "Hey, can you meet next week for to review this proposal?" You can actually just see this little thing here. Hit tab to shift your focus there, hit enter, and with the power of Superhuman AI, you will get an event with the name and description populated from the message, including the folks that are already on the email, and finding the right time based on the content of that message. So scheduling has never been faster with Superhuman AI and Superhuman Calendar.
Yeah, and somebody asked if Superhuman Calendar syncs with your Google Calendar. It totally does. Yeah, and you can include multiple calendars in this. So, for example, in my business Superhuman view, I have both my business and my personal, so I know like when to pick up my kids.
Yeah, you can just do calendar settings, and then you can sign in with multiple calendar accounts, Google or Microsoft, and then of course you can just check or uncheck the calendars that you want to show up at any given time.
Somebody asked for auto drafts, are there plans to allow us to train the AI? For example, please don't use just circling back, or for friends, be more casual, use shorthand. So right now there's no plan to have like an area where you can give that instruction, although it is something that we're thinking about. But one thing that auto drafts do is that they'll look at the past emails that you've sent someone and try to match that style. So my auto drafts to people that I'm speaking with more casually, like my family, are very like they're all lowercase and there's a little more emojis. And my auto drafts to, let's say, my boss or Rahul, our CEO, are a little bit more formal, a little bit longer. And so that's a really cool functionality of auto drafts.
Awesome. Somebody asked here, Robbie asked, when making an AI prompt for an auto label, can I tell the AI not to include emails from other labels? That's a really good question. That's not something that you can do today, but Lorilyn, correct me if I'm wrong, but in the future, you'll actually be able to do like kind of like Boolean style carve outs in the way that you could with your split definitions to say, for example, include emails that are from a specific sender or exclude things with a specific subject or label or something like that.
Yeah, and the reason we're adding that is that is we don't really need to like have AI do that. Like if you want to set a rule that says like always include emails from this person, then like we see no reason to not let you do that. So that's definitely coming in progress. Somebody asked if I have multiple different email accounts built into my Superhuman account, each with a different subject matter. Would this confuse the AI auto draft feature? The answer is no. So we have like kind of like a separate spot for each of your email addresses, and the auto label feature really like looks inside that one like silo. And the auto drafts will look at emails from the email that you're currently viewing to generate the auto draft, so it won't get confused.
Awesome. I know we're jumping around a little bit, but I'm just trying to catch questions in the Q&A
Oh,
as they're rolling in.
well,
John asked, can you edit the contact details that are shown on the right side panel? For example, Lily Demo has no phone number. Can I add that from within the app? Really great question. So just so that you are all seeing what John is talking about, they're referring to our social profile on the side here. Okay, so a couple of things that you can do here, John. First off, you can edit your own profile. So if you're seeing something that's off there, you can edit your own. You cannot directly edit someone else's. So for example, if I were looking at Lily Demo, I can't add that information directly. But what I can do is if I am integrating with a CRM of some kind. So we integrate with Salesforce, we integrate with HubSpot, we integrate with Pipedrive. You can actually edit their contact in your CRM directly from the side panel in Superhuman and change the information there. So for example, if I wanted to change Lily's title to CEO of email, I could do that directly from here, and it would push those changes to, in this case, Salesforce, and would then show that in the profile on the right side. So not within the Superhuman social pane sort of vanilla, but if you are using a CRM that you're integrating, then you can edit directly from Superhuman. Great question.
This is a fun one. Any really obvious features of Superhuman that you see many users missing out on to get their inboxes under control? Do you have any answer to that? Yeah.
Oh my goodness. How much time you have? I'll hit you with a couple of them really, really quickly. So a feature that I absolutely use constantly that some folks love and then other folks just totally sleep on is snippets. You saw me use it earlier today. So I did Command K use snippet in a draft. Okay. And basically these are like saved drafts, but they could be anything from like a full email like this one to just like a string of text, right? Like a signature or a link to my Calendly or anything like that. And they save a ton of time. Things that you can include in snippets include like just a list of recipients. So for example, in my personal account, I have a snippet that's just the email addresses of all my family members. So if I need to send an email to my family, boom, I have that all in one place. If you find yourself sending links or attachments all the time, you can also create a snippet based on attachments. And what's really cool here is if you are on a team, you can actually create team snippets that are shared across your organization. This is awesome because it means that everybody in your organization can write at the quality of the best writer at your organization, and you stay totally focused on message all the time. Not only are you able to send those, but we actually have metrics here so that you can see how often these have been sent across your organization and what their open and reply rates are. Now, I will say these numbers look a little bit dismal, but that's because this is the demo team. So pretty much all of these snippets are just little things that we send off in calls. But yeah, definitely check these out. I got here by doing Command K, go to snippets. If you're not on a team, it's really, really helpful to get your coworkers together and really like leverage the power of snippets together. Fantastic. I'll throw one more at you really quickly, because taming the inbox is no small feat. So one thing that I find really, really helpful is increasing my focus by having fewer messages right in my inbox. Now, things like auto archive can help with that. Things like splits can help with that. But even the best of us sometimes fall behind. And as soon as you're at like 50 messages or 100 messages, sometimes you just need to wipe the slate and move forward. And so in those cases, I will do something like Command A, which is going to highlight everything below my cursor, and then just do a little email bankruptcy and be like, hey, these are from March. I'm not going to respond to those. The idea is keep things really clean and focused so you can see all of the messages that you need to action that day. And because I can't help myself talking so much, I'm going to throw in one more feature. This one's for Lorilyn, our expert on all things AI. Ask AI is a complete game changer. Okay, this allows you, instead of using traditional search, which by the way, Superhuman's great for, you can actually just use AI to find the exact information that you need. So for this, I am going to type Ask AI. And you're going to see this little agent pop up in the bottom right. They're not going to ask anything. So for example, I could ask something like, what is the latest on hyperfusion? Which of course you may have seen is a fictitious company that we mentioned a few times in this demo inbox. Rather than having to like remember keywords or who a message was from or how, what time they sent it or something, I can just ask the question, and they're going to actually search across multiple emails. They're going to include the sources so I know exactly what they're referencing, and they're going to pull out the content so I can really quickly consume it. Totally makes getting information from your done folder from your archive or just your inbox in general just so much faster, so much more reliable than it ever has been before. Thanks for indulging me on, I think I answered that question with 3 different features. So I appreciate y'all indulging me there. All right, I think we have time for maybe 1 or 2 more. Anything speaking to you, Lorilyn?
Let's see. Something about auto follow-ups on emails where people are waiting on an action item from me as opposed to emails where you're waiting on like others to respond. You know what's funny is we actually have thought about making this distinction. Sometimes it does this already. And we were trying to figure out if that is like a feature or a bug. So it's really good to know that it's something that you'd want. The auto draft for that, sometimes is a little bit, interesting because it's like, yes, I've done this. And you're like, but I haven't done it yet. So we're gonna think through this one a little bit more to figure out for these like follow-up emails where the follow-up isn't from them, but rather for you. So give us a little bit of time to think it through and figure out what the right behavior is for that. It's a good question.
Oh, really, really great question. Fantastic. Now I know there are a bunch more questions. Like I said, we are going to send out a bunch of resources tomorrow. Not only will you get the recording of this call, you will also get those FAQ resources and then a follow-up offer as well. So look forward to that. Now, if you want to dive even deeper, I'm going to give you a few additional resources. Hit Command or Control K and type help. That'll get you to our help center where, oh, no, this is going to take me to Zendesk editing because That's just how the world is. All right, there we go to the Help Center. And you can see right up some basically every feature in Superhuman, including our Superhuman AI overview. Oh my goodness, look at that ugly mug down there. This will cover a lot of the information we talked about today, as well as having in-depth feature summaries for every AI feature in Superhuman. In addition to that, we have these guides that can help you level up your superhuman skills. And if you do still have questions after tomorrow, again, Command K help, contact us. You can get in touch with our customer delight team. They're super responsive. They are incredibly helpful, and they are standing by to answer your questions, take your feedback, and otherwise help you get the very most out of Superhuman. So thank you again for taking the time to join us today. On behalf of the entire Superhuman team, thank you and happy emailing.